Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Still very much front of the agenda is the Edo election coming up quite soon. It's all upon us. It's on the 19th. So we're going to be finding out what all the efforts are. Our senior correspondent, Ayodele Zubakun, is over there right now. In fact, they're at Oba Kenzua Cultural Center. We'll come to that, the reason why they're there. Then later on, we also are hoping to touch base with Mr. Festus Okoye, ANEC National Commissioner. He'll be joining us as well. And then later on the program, we'll be looking at, it's now really a rumor that an Abuja-Kaduna train was attacked by gunmen. Well, News Agency of Nigeria has updated that situation. The police authorities in Kaduna are saying that it was not a gunman attack. It was, in fact, attacked by miscreants, and that the police are entirely on top of it. This reportedly happened, where's that village now? Yeah, Rijana village, close to Kaduna. So we'll be looking at that story in the second half of the program, as well as sort of security implications and all of that. But as I said, we'll start the day with, shall we say, the story of the moment, the upcoming Edo governorship election. Now, our man Ayodele Zubakun, as I said, is in Edo State. In fact, he's at the Oba Kenzua Cultural Center. Good morning, Ayo. Great to see you.
Good morning, Yori.
Yeah. So I've just been saying that you're at the Oba Kenzua Cultural Center, and I know you're not there for cultural business. So tell us why and who are gathering at that cultural center.
Yori, as a practice, it's significant that anytime there's a governorship election, major governorship election in Nigeria, the National Peace Summit, even presidential election, we saw it during the last presidential election between the former president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, and the president now, General Muhammadu Buhari, and that commission, that peace committee led by former retired General Abdusalami Abubakar and Reverend Father Matthew Kuka, that's the Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, coming together to say most of these actors, you must give peace a chance as a significant figure that you come together, the major gladiators will come together, you will sign this peace pact that you ensure that you keep the peace during the election and the election will be free and be fair. So in Edo State, it
just to be sure, just to be sure,
war between the People's Democratic Party. Yes, Yori.
Just to be sure that everybody that has a stake in this election is committed to this aspiration of a peaceful process. That's why they have to come together and indeed append their signature to it. Now we're talking about Ayo. We were speaking just before we went on air, and you were telling me that even though we hear most about just 2 of the contestants, there actually are 14 of them. 14 of them, including 2 ladies.
14 of them.
Including 2 ladies.
Yes. Yes. 14 of them from 14 political parties and 2 ladies. A lot of pro-democracy activists and women rights activists are saying that, look, this is not good enough, that we have 12 men on the field. You just have 2 governorship candidates for ladies and 3 deputy governorship candidates for ladies. And when you look at the statistics, now 2.2 million people will be filing out next Saturday to actually exercise their franchise, that the people with their PVC. And from those 2.2 million people, 48% of them are women. And when you go to the rallies, you go to the major rallies we've had so far, PDP, APC, the biggest rally among the political parties, you will see these women, galvanizing votes, coming together, spreading the gospel of their candidates according to their political parties, one-on-one. And a lot of people feel that this is not good enough, it's not proportionate. But one major talking point here is violence. Keeping peace on the election, and in line with that, the Inspector General of Police is still in town, is still very much in town, announced yesterday that he has deployed 31,000 policemen for this exercise, Saturday's exercise. 31,000 policemen, and when you look at the number of local governments, 18 local governments, over 2,000 polling units, and 192 wards across the 3 senatorial districts of Edo State. So to carry out that exercise, just for police alone, that's 31,000. They will be supported by paramilitary agencies, supported by the military, and the security in and out of Edo State that day is going to be very tight. But as you know, Yori, they will not allow any policeman or any security agents wielding any gun close to the polling unit. It's against the Electoral Act. Though the policemen that will be stationed across the over 2,000 polling units are those ones that they are not armed, Yori.
Yeah. Okay. Now, for anybody just maybe coming into town and hearing this, and he might be wondering that, well, it's an election. Why all of this, shall we say, apprehension? You've got the Inspector of Police here, you've got religious leaders, you've got stakeholders, they're going to sign a peace pact. What led to this? Was there, would you agree that this temperature has been sort of raised in Edo State? Is that your assessment?
Definitely, Yori. Let me give you a background to this. You see, this is an off-season election. Off-season election meaning that it's not part of the general election, and Edo State falls into one of those states that they have off-season election. That's Edo State and 6 other states across the country. Now, the status quo was altered in 2008 when the Court of Appeal actually pronounced Adams Ali Oshomole as the rightful winner of the governorship election. After that time, since 1999 till now, this is going to be the 6th election. Now, what is at stake here is that the APC had these states. They had this state, and it was one of the major states they had in the South. And they're saying that, look, but the nomination process, the acrimony that we experienced during the nomination process, the intra-party crisis within the APC, snowballed, and the governor was not given a ticket. He had to move to the PDP. Now, right now, the former chairman of the APC is now holding his own. Why is holding the APC end of the state? Governor Obaseki is holding the PDP end of the state. So it's a major contest between the APC and the PDP, and they're fighting a battle of their life, a battle of their political career, and it has all been with bitterness across the state.
Okay.
The rhetorics has not been an issue of development. I've not been hearing about development. I've been hearing of crisis, violence here and there, and the security, they are aware of this, about the mounting tension in the state, so they've decided not to underestimate it. So as a way of de-escalating the crisis ahead of Saturday, they have announced that, look, they have 31,000 policemen drafted for this exercise.
We'll be speaking with INEC later on, and we've been speaking with them, along the lines, and they say that they're comfortable with the pace of their preparations and that everything is going to be in order. But you mentioned the fact that political actors had sort of crossed the line on both sides, perhaps, in terms of their utterances, with the result that people are probably now apprehensive. Now, all of the dignitaries, you mentioned former head of state, General Abdul Salam Abubakar, retired, Reverend Father
And Bishop Matthew Kuka.
Matthew Hassan Kuka, all of those guys. What's going to be the process? Is it going to be in the nature of what? There will be some homilies, or will people be swearing or shaking hands, or what's going to happen? It's just going to be a signing ceremony then.
Yes, it's the normal formalities we've seen.
Yeah.
It's the normal rhetorics that we've had before about giving peace a chance. Don't forget, for the politicians, this is a precursor. This is like a prelude. This is like a pre-2023 race for both parties. It's going to give 2023 a kind of coloration. So both parties, the big parties, they're looking at what is at stake,
okay,
and what kind of signal this will send ahead for 2023.
Okay.
So the stakes are very, very high.
So
high-wired politics. But what the Matikuka and Co are coming to do here, Father of Matikuka and Co are coming to do here, that yes, we know that the stakes are so high. We know everything is happening. But in all, this should be about the interest of the people, of the 2.2 million people that are going to vote will decide, and the 5 million people of residents of Edo State will choose who ultimately occupies the Osadebe Palace.
Okay. So everybody is like, they have to come out and publicly declare that they're on board with this whole effort. And as men of honor and as gentlemen and ladies, they're all supposed to, you know, agree publicly that we are all committed to the peace. Oh dear, it looks like there might be a weather situation. Your screen just went to black. And well, we also are working at getting the INEC commissioner, Mr. Festus Okoye. I don't know if we have that, just so that there will be not. There you go. We do have Mr. Festus Okoye. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
As you can, Yori Folani in studio here. As you've been hearing, we're talking with our man, our senior correspondent in Edo, who is telling us about, I'm sure something you already know yourself, this sort of coming together of all the gladiators to, commit to the success, to not doing anything to impede the success of, the project Edo State election. In terms of INEC itself, since INEC is the key participant in all of this, you have the responsibility of conducting election. Are you still feeling, good about your preparations, or are there any issues that have come up that you think give cause for concern as you prepare towards the big day?
Well, as a commission, we have always been focused on the conduct of this particular election. We have never allowed any of the rhetorics or any of the happenings to divert our attention. Almost a month ago, we delivered all the non-sensitive materials to Edo State, and these non-sensitive materials have been taken to the various local governments and biased in accordance with the 192 registration areas. And then for purposes of sensitive materials, the sensitive materials required for the conduct of this election in terms of ballot papers and resources are already with the central bank in Benin. So we have been preparing for this election. We have conducted training for supervisory presiding officers, for presiding officers, for electoral officers and assistant electoral officers. And we are presently concluding training of our collation officers. So we have always been preparing, we have always been ready, we have never allowed any of the happenings to dampen our spirit or to prevent us from remaining focused in relation to organizing, undertaking, and supervising the other elections. So we are ready for this election.
Festus, could you tell us what part technology is going to play in this election? Be it card reader or any other such device, because I know that everybody would like an honest election where people who vote are actually who they say they are and can be, attested to be such. Is it going to play a big part, or, are there fallback positions just in case it proves a bit difficult?
We have always been upfront in relation to giving out information both to the Nigerian public and to the media. Everything this particular commission has done and we continue to do will be in the public domain. We are irrevocably committed to the deepening of the use of technology in the electoral process. And this accounts for the type of thing we did with the party nomination processes. All the political parties submitted the list and particulars of their nominated candidates or validly nominated candidates online through our dedicated INEC nomination portal. Civil society groups and organizations that deployed and are deploying election observers to this election also did the same thing through a dedicated portal. The media also applied for accreditation through a dedicated portal. So we are completely and irrevocably committed to the deepening of technology, the use of technology in the electoral process. Now, in the Nasarawa Central State Constituency elections, we did deploy what we call a Z-pad for purposes of doing two things. One, to use it to upload from EC8A, which is the polling unit result, into a dedicated portal, so that all Nigerians who are interested can see these results coming in through our dedicated portal. We also use the Z-pad as a secondary authentication mechanism, as a secondary authentication solution to the smart card reader, so that if the smart card reader is unable to read the voter's biometrics, the Z-pad can capture the facials. But we have informed the Nigerian people that during the Nasarawa Central State Constituency elections, we had the technical challenges with the ZPAD in terms of integrating it with the smart card reader. And we felt that it needed, we needed to do more work before we deploy it into a bigger election. This commission will not gamble with a big election. And we can only deploy a technological solution we are confident will serve its purpose. For now, we believe that the ZPAD as a secondary authentication mechanism is not robust enough for us to deploy. But for the purposes of uploading from EC8 into a central portal where Nigerians can view the results from the polling units, we are definitely going to deploy that both in Edo and in Ondo State. And so we are committed to the deepening of technology in the electoral process.
Thank you very much for that quite comprehensive, account. Is this to say then that in the actual voting process, there will not need to be any resort to, so to say, a manual kind of operation should there be a glitch?
No, you see, the purposes of accreditation, the issue of accreditation and the process of accreditation is multi-layered. Every voter that comes to the polling unit must definitely come with a permanent voter's card. That is the first thing. Now, the permanent voter's card contains the name, VIN number, and other details of the voter. The moment the voter arrives, we collect the voter's permanent voter's card and cross-check with the details in our voters register, which is in color. When the details correspond, then the voter moves to the test stage, which is the smart card reader. Now we verify the voter's biometrics with the smart card reader. If there's a problem with the verification of the biometrics, then the voter will be required to provide his or her telephone number and also provide his or her thumbprint on the voter's register itself for purposes of audit.
Okay.
So all these layers are going to be applicable during the day elections, and we're not going to detract from them.
Okay, thank you, Festus. Stand by for us, please, because our senior correspondent in Edo is back up again. Ayo, so
yes, Jory.
How close are we now to the commencement of the I don't want to the event? I don't want to call it a ceremony. How closer are we to it? When is it scheduled to actually, kick off? Did you hear, Ayo? Or do you need me to say that again? Ayo just went to his phone. I'm not sure if you were looking for some information or if you didn't hear. But we're back up again, Ayo, just in case you can hear me. Okay, in the meantime, Mr. Okoye is... Ayo, can you hear me? Well, not yet. Neither we can't hear you. If you can't hear me, we can't hear you.
Yeah, is that anytime moment from now,
okay,
we expect the former head of state, that's General Abdul Salam, led by the Oba Kenzua, to be around. That's not Oba Kenzua, I beg your pardon, the Oba of Benin, and who also represents the chairman of the Edo State traditional ruler and other traditional rulers in Edo States will file in here, and with the major candidates for this election, I told you earlier, 14 numbers, and if we have 14 of them, 2 female candidates and 12 male, and across these political parties. And I also told you that we have just the APC and the People's Democratic Party. As we are making entry into those states, you just see billboards all around, even market women, they are donning the clothes and they are wearing, campaigning for each of these strong political parties. So the talking point in town now is between the APC and the People's Democratic Party. We also notice influx of governors from these political parties, that's PDP governors, APC governors. They've been in and out of town, and some of them are even getting ready for their final rally, which is the mega rally that they are going to hold 24 hours to that election. That is Thursday midnight. Campaign proper will stop officially according to the Independent National Electoral Commission. So it's going to be a work for INEC and security people, and the Independent National Electoral Commission said out of the 14 items that they have on the card for election, that is Saturday's election, out of the 14 items that they have to be carried out, that they've done 12 successfully. That what we are waiting for is the end of the campaign and election day proper. So taking us to 12 of those items, that is the party nomination process. They've gone through the primaries, they've chosen their candidates, and the names of those candidates have been published, and they even gave time for the alterations of this list for substitution in case of any anomaly or anything happens. So for these candidates to be able to be substituted, they have that window. All those windows are now closed. So out of the 14 agenda on INEC's timetable now, they've said they've fulfilled 12. And by Thursday, when the campaign proper across the country would have been concluded, they would have done the 13th. And by Saturday, that's the election proper. So the people of Benin City here, that's the largest local government, that's Oredo local government. Might be the ultimate decider when you look at this chart and the statistics of the number of people that will actually participate in Saturday's election. So, but what we are looking at here is a situation whereby the exercise will be conducted under a free and fair, free atmosphere. And what people are saying on the streets, the level of awareness is high. Very, very high. They said no matter the number of security agencies deployed, that people are going to come out to exercise the franchise. And they believe that it is now time for the 2.2 million people of Edo State to decide whoever will be occupying that Olusadebe's house, Yori.
Sure. I was going to say, I know there's a slight delay, so you might not have heard immediately. I was trying to interrupt. But I wanted to ask you, since you were speaking about the distribution, we've heard that of the registered voters, 48% no less are actually women, female. Now, I wanted to ask you about the age. What's the kind of interest level? You know, are you looking at the youths? Are they up and very, very actively involved? Is it the seniors? What do you think from your observations? Okay, Ayo can't hear anymore, but Festus, you're still with us?
Yes.
Thanks, Festus. Now, Ayo, our man, reiterating really what you've just said, of the 14 items on your checklist, 12 have actually been checked, and I think you are pointing out that everything that can be done up to now has actually been done. It's maybe just the sensitive materials that will arrive only at the last moment.
Yes, let me just provide some clarification.
Sure.
The program we have for today, which is the signing of a peace accord, will commence at exactly 2 p.m.
Okay, 2 p.m. in the afternoon.
2 p.m. in the afternoon. All the major stakeholders in relation to the peace accord are already in town. The former head of state, Abdul Salami Abubakar, is already in town. The bishop of the Sokoto Diocese, Matthew Hassan Kuka, is already in town. The Oba of Benin will be at the signing ceremony, and the political parties and their candidates will also be at the signing ceremony. I also pointed out that a month ago, we delivered all the non-sensitive materials, and they have been biased to the local government level and biased to the registration areas or wards. The sensitive materials in relation to this particular election are already in Edo State and are normally deposited with the Central Bank of Nigeria. Now, by tomorrow, the resident electoral commissioner and the political parties and their liaison officers will meet and agree on the modalities for the inspection of these materials at the Central Bank. So that by the time we are moving these sensitive materials to the local governments and the registration areas on Thursday, there won't be any glitch. So we are being very transparent and we are being very open with the political parties, and they are going to be part of the process from beginning to the end.
Indeed. Well, we just, for our viewers, we've opened up the phone lines just in case you wanted to call in and, you know, comment or add any clarification. And so, but back to you, Festus. And then, of course, the human factor is very, very important. And you were saying that the training that is necessary has actually been, you know, is it right to say has been completed?
Now, we have trained the electoral officers and assistant electoral officers. We have trained the supervisory presiding officers that are going to superintend the distribution of materials at the registration area level. We have also trained the presiding officers and assistant presiding officers. And then we have also trained those we call the registration area technical assistants, who are going to provide technical support at the registration area in terms of the smart card reader. The only training that is outstanding,
yes,
which we normally do 3 days to the election, relates to the training of the collation officers, those who are going to collect the results at the registration area, at the 192 registration areas and the 18 local government areas, and the collation officer for the governorship election, who is also going to serve as the returning officer.
Okay.
Now,
one moment. I beg your pardon, Festus. I beg your pardon. I wanted to. A viewer has just called in. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Uncle Yori, I want to ask the INEC Commissioner two questions.
Okay.
The first one is about a device. There's a device I understand they are going to use in addition to the card reader. Let him please explain that device, how it works, and how it is going to complement the card reader. Secondly, people from my area in that state have informed me that a lot of militants from the Niger Delta are hanging around the bushes against these elections. What is the security measure that INEC is sure of that the elections will be peaceful?
Okay, thank you very much. Festus, you heard the caller.
Yes, I did.
Would you like to comment?
Yes, let me just conclude. What I was just trying to say is that no collation officer for the 192 registration areas and the 18 local governments will come from any of the tertiary institutions in Edo State. The collation officers are senior lecturers and senior lecturers of federal tertiary institutions, and they're going to come from outside a federal tertiary institution in Edo State. So we normally train them 2 to 3 days before the election, and then they're moved in to come and do the results. So that's relating to that. In terms of this technological solution he's talking about, the ZPad, we tried the ZPad in the Nasarawa Central State Constituency election. One, as a secondary solution to the smart card reader.
Festus, I apologize for interrupting you, but you had explained this earlier, and I am really constrained for time now. So much so that, but could you quickly comment on the whole matter about Niger Delta militants hanging around, and are you aware of this, and what can be done?
Well, I'm not aware of it, but the Inspector General of Police made it very clear that a total of 31,000 police officers will be deployed for the purposes of this election. And the military are going to take charge of the entrance and exit of Edo State. So I think that they have taken precautionary steps to make sure that there's no infiltration.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Festus Okoye, INEC Commissioner, joining us on Skype. Really appreciate your, giving us some of your time. Okay, so stay with us, please. We're going to go on a break. We'll be right back. And as I said, the other matter we wanted to look at was the attack of one of our new trains. What's that all about? Stay with us. Okay, welcome back, and if we've been together and if you've just joined us, okay, as I like to say, still some meat on the bone. Now looking at another aspect of security. The security aspect could spill over from the last subject matter. Mr. George, one of our viewers and callers, had brought up the whole matter about the election that everybody is sort of working at and is prepared for. He had brought up the thought that some Niger Delta militants might be around, but the security aspect I want to start with, and let me just introduce my friend. We've been together from before the program, so I forgot that I haven't actually introduced him to you all out there. Okay, so Tony Ofoyeton, lawyer, DG, International Institute of Professional Security. As always, we're delighted to have you, Tony.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Indeed. Now, first of all, disturbing news that, first of all, it was a train that was bound for Abuja, but now the latest information we have is that actually it left Kaduna, was bound for Abuja. So I don't know, but whatever be the case, gunmen were reported to have attacked it, but the police, and quoting News Agency of Nigeria now, News Agency Nigeria says that the police in Kaduna have dismissed that rumor. It was not a gun attack. It was miscreants who were throwing stones, not lethal stuff. Not that wasn't bad. You can't be throwing stones at trains, but indeed, in terms of putting perspective on it, the police in Kaduna that spoke with News Agency of Nigeria say that it was not a gun attack. Yeah, you can see that's the picture there. Shards of glass where a missile of some sort. I use the term missile. Anything you throw is a missile. A pen could be a missile. So that was the sense in which I used that word missile. Was thrown, and so the glass there, shards of the glass, had indeed hit a female passenger, and she had suffered minor injuries. So that's the update that we have, Tony. But it is worrying, and that is quoting News Agency of Nigeria. So that's the very, very latest. We started with gunshot. Now, News Agency says police in Kaduna dismissed that it wasn't a gunshot. First of all, how concerned are you? And this whole incident, let's call it an attack on the train, happened at a place called Regina Village, which is close to Kaduna. First of all, how concerned were you or surprised were you to hear that these trains, a new lease of life that we're just starting, that it is being attacked, in no matter whether it was dangerous or not? If you could break the glass of a moving train, that's worrisome. Were you surprised?
In terms of surprise, I was not too surprised, although I was embarrassed. Basically because, knowing full well the vulnerability of the Kaduna axis, be it road or train, what we expect that proactively the government would have done was to put in the application of technology. I deliberately said technology, not because we cannot have the deployment of humans, but it will be more expensive and less effective. Now, knowing full well the axis, the Kaduna-Abuja axis, road and the like, we expect some level of maximum security. But if you ask me, I will tell you that it's been more of a reactionary approach towards security rather than the proactive approach. If you look at also what is happening now, presently, it's as good as wait. The bandits, the criminals seem to put the security agencies on the defense. But we expect that by now, it's not the first time we'll be hearing of security challenges on the rail. The Lagos and the Kaduna, Abuja, it's not the first time. So since it's not the first time, it presupposes that it will happen. Let us assume without conceding that it was a stone. Let's assume without conceding that it was a stone. Now the question is this: are you supposed to have a rail in such an axis to the extent that humans will move so close? If you look at the force,
yes,
with which, if you are saying it's not a bullet, and I will not join issue on that, are you there with me? Now, what is the proximity of whosoever threw that stone?
Exactly.
To the extent that it would
the
smash
kind of
the glass.
Yeah. If we get that picture again,
I hope you understand that. So it means that.
There you go.
Yes,
how close was this person? And if it was just arm power, how close was this person, which the police quoting Nan, say were miscreants. Miscreants. Are those not the area boy types?
Now, yes, so, of course, miscreants, urchins, and all those stuff like that, they are matter of semantics. Now, the question is this: if you are now, you have even pluralized it, not one, most probably two and above. Now, what do they intend to achieve? Because what happened now could
the report says that police are already in the area. They're on their trail. They're trying to see how that's the kind of thing we've become used to hearing.
If you do not have the assistance of technology, how are you going to fish out those that did it? I hope you understand what I'm saying. Are you just going to the community, arrest everybody, torture them to confession? Or are you just going to bring somebody else as a scapegoat just to pacify the people that we've been able to arrest somebody?
It is a worrisome situation that, as you've pointed out, a human, I mean, look, even if you're an Olympic thrower, that he was that close.
The proximity is...
He was that close to it to be able to do that damage. And if it was a hand-propelled missile or a hand-propelled stone, let me stop this missile business. If it was a hand-propelled stone, it's worrisome. But I have to use the word that the police have used, and they said it was a stone. But, well, now let's come to the matter of, you said it's not surprising to the extent that this is not the first that we've heard of this.
It's not. It's not. And most likely won't be the last.
And people have begun to shift to the trains because it's safer. The roads are almost like a no-go area, and they're probably harder to police. But now we quite frankly don't know where we are. So the whole rail system is going to have to go into overdrive in terms of a reassurance campaign that indeed it still is worth your... because I hope people don't get the idea that we're not even safe in trains anymore. And, so this is a problem right there. That has to be taken very, very seriously.
What happened in most climes, even at international levels, rail lines are not places that are easily accessible.
Yeah.
In some climes, you have the wired. It's always enclaved in wire, no matter how long it is. Yes, to prevent.
But our own, we have what we have.
Yeah,
and apparently it's going through.
You see, like I said something. I said the peculiarity of the Kaduna-Abuja axis is such that you cannot be miserly when it comes to safety and security. Don't forget that the train is not like the normal vehicle where you ask to stop and it stops. Look at what happened even in, was it in Lagos State, where a man was crushed to death, even in this arena, how many days ago, crushed to death, and Allah the Son is already dead. All because of, easy accessibility to the rail.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's one thing that we have here, let it be said.
So
we have it here. Cars, well, it happens all over the world. Rail crossings, cars have to stop, but quite a number of them pass through, densely populated areas. And if a guy was going to be a bad guy, I don't know, maybe the security authorities need to begin to look at this as a potentially new threat that they might not have figured in before. Other countries have rail police.
Yes, rail police. Apart from that, like I said, your best bet is the application of technology. Don't forget that even in the UK, there was the rail bombing. So terrorism is such that anything that will attract national and international attention. Now, the throwing of the stone is first of all to test the waters and see your reaction, and see to what extent you will be able to fortify your security. If you are still docile, then the next thing you are going to hear is a bomb blast. I'm not being pessimistic.
I understand you, but
and
God forbid.
It is imperative that the government think along that line, faster and quicker than the terrorists.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's standard practice to have bulletproof glass in trains. I don't know. But Mr. Yakub, thank you very much for calling in. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, actually, very good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling.
And then good morning to Mr. Ofoyeta.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir.
I guess Nigerian government people are watching this program this morning. because I came to realize that any time that you bring on Mr. Ofoyeton to discuss about security issue, he always talk sense. He always talk that he really know what he's talking about. You know why? This is not the first time something like this happened to Rain from Abuja to Kaduna. Now, look at what Mr. Ofoyeton says now. It may be a plan to test your security power. Concern how do you go to cut people that does that? I didn't mean that there is a technology applied to that strain, and then immediately something like that happen. You don't need to disturb yourself. What you need to do is to key into your technology and fish out who does it. And then now, Mr. Ofoyeton just say something now. The police may rather go about and begin to make arrests and begin to take people and then torture people in order to confirm what that they don't even know anything about. So in a nutshell, to cut the story short, Chief Yori, I would like the federal government to listen to Mr. Ofoyeton this morning. Okay. If I didn't mean they have never done that, they should start doing that now.
Okay. Because
right. Mr. Ofoyeton says something now. If I didn't mean it's a bomb, God forbid, where are we going? How are we going to go about it? Indeed. So that's my own contribution this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Yakub, for calling in. And perhaps we shouldn't prejudge the police. I mean, the reports say that the police command in Kaduna says that we're on top of this. So let's take them at their word. And, true, we've been used to hearing that kind of a thing. But if they are on top, they will say they're on top of it. And that's what they've told us, that they're on top of this. It wasn't a bullet. And we'll take it from there. We'll hope to be hearing from them. But it is a wake-up call. It was a stone, we are told. What if it had been something more dangerous? What if it had been, I shudder to even mention the word, what if it had been some sort of an incendiary device? So now everybody, I hope, has woken up.
Let me say this very quickly. October 1st, bombing, if you remember. I remember, if you play some of our interviews, I said something then. I said that more or less like what happened now. I said, look, the way the terrorists operate is such that they first of all want to look at how your reaction will be at the first provocation. And when it comes to terrorism, you don't treat it with kid gloves. Now, if you remember, we said, look, that is the introduction to terrorism in Nigeria. Today, we are now nursing that cancer, hoping that it's graduating from one level to the other, and hoping very seriously that it will not degenerate into a national issue. We've been able to manage it to the northeast and the like. But the truth is that propagandally, that is where terrorism is present. But as it is, it seems to have spread into all nook and cranny
So we
of
need
Nigeria.
to nip this. If it's gotten to be more than the bud, it must be nipped now. Good morning, Mr. Teller in Port Harcourt.
Good morning, Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
You see, all these things we are talking about, the new happening in Nigeria, is based on the fact that Nigerians are tired of this rudderless leadership we have in this country. That is the truth of the matter.
One
of the things I was taught in management is that when
you
there
can't
is a
go that
complex
way.
situation,
You can't go that way. Rudderless leadership. That's your opinion, but there's a sense in which you're entitled to it, but no, we can't agree with you on the program that there is a rudderless leadership in place. We don't censor. We don't, but we do expect people to sort of, take responsibility when they want to speak and when they want to utter words. Thank you very much, Mr. Teller, for calling, but we won't let you go the way you wanted to go because we don't share your opinion, even if it was your opinion that you have a right to. So, Tony, it's worrisome. All the authorities are listening. Well, maybe I overstated the case that all the authorities are listening, but their representatives certainly are listening. They have officers who have this kind of a function. This is the concern that people are expressing. It starts as a pinprick, and God knows where it's going to go. It's scary, quite frankly, that someone got as close enough to a train to be able to throw a missile, a stone, to be able to throw a stone, it could have been anything. And then there was actually a lady that was injured because shards of glass, hit her. But Mazio Korafo, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Sayori. Good morning, our guests in the studio.
Thank you for calling.
Sayori, you see, what we should be doing now in Nigeria, because the whole world, we are talking about terrorism, government, but on this issue, I'm only advising the federal government, where possible. I want to find out from again, what does it take Nigeria to comb all that bush? Whether they say it's evil forest or whatnot, why not comb the bush? What do I mean by combing the bush? Where possible, all those rocky areas, bomb those areas. Because it is very, very happening that every day you'll be hearing about one terrorist attack. You saw what happened with the road safety people that were going for a course at Nasarawa State. They kidnapped some, killed some. It's not healthy. That means you cannot travel on the road or by rail again. Even the SF, are we going to talk about, we are not expecting people like Botara again. Now, I would just advise the rail people, the railway line people, where possible, mass security gadgets inside that issue of CCTV, anything that is happening, let them have a security post inside that secret that nobody will know that the forward as the train is moving, it will be combing the bush on their own. They will not know exactly what is happening.
Okay.
Not that the money is there, Sayori. What are we waiting for? Is it when the rail will not die, like what happened in Lagos where the train crashed because of carelessness with the driver? You should be waiting that, please. The area we do that, security, education, and health. These are the three cardinal things that a country must produce for everybody.
Indeed.
Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Indeed. Thank you very much. So here is the government, trying to introduce a new lease of life to the whole transportation sector via this whole train thing. And then immediately you have this kind of a situation. So what Mazis just said, we know that on airplanes, security personnel are flying on airplanes all the time. You don't need to know them, but they're there doing their work. And I don't know if the trains don't have anything like that, but maybe...
You see, the issue is not who flies in the air, who flies the plane or the train.
Or the security aboard?
Yes, or the security on board. No. The major thing is having it at the access control level. You don't allow a criminal to gain access to your facility and begin to fast the criminal inside your facility. The major part of security is preventive.
Yes.
It's not curative.
Yes.
So if you are talking about really looking at security properly at the rail lines, you are talking of right from the level of boarding, movement, even to the level of, landing or getting to their respective destination. And that was why I said one of the most important things that they need to look at is the deployment of technology. It's very important. And of course, the fortification of the rail itself is very important. And of course, well, maybe you talk about manpower in strategic places,
yes,
security agencies
yes,
in strategic locations, especially when you can be able to identify hostile communities, hostile environment. Then you can deploy, selected security agencies along those routes and the like. But the major thing now is the government having that willpower to be able to do this without the excuse of that we don't have the money.
Well, the security is not cheap anyway, and if security is threatening any of these, especially the train thing, it's a bit depressing that many Nigerians were beginning to speak well that, there was a time when we were traveling, it wasn't what it is now. Now the trains are coming on, and immediately you see that there are some, quite frankly, enemies of progress, who are saying that no, we're gonna put apprehension on this as well. So you said it, but even if you have security personnel aboard, aboard these devices, these vehicles, surely coordinating with those outside, because I'm beginning to wonder if we shouldn't be taking as much care as they do on airplanes before you board. Because I was a bit surprised that this attack happened.
No, you see, one thing we must
in terms of
understand
screening
is,
potential passengers.
potential passengers are not the major risk. They are not the major risk. No, not at all. In short, they are,
because if anybody tried anything, any hanky-panky, they would be determined before boarding.
So I think the DSS, whose responsibility is that of intelligence, should be able, they have all their men in all nook and cranny of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And it is their responsibility to gather intelligence. And such intelligence is such that they are able to be aware of a crime before it is committed, especially when it has to do with national security. Because they have
surely this qualifies.
Yes, of course.
This incident qualifies.
It's a national issue.
Okay,
yes.
I think I have a... okay, please continue.
So it's a national security concern. And don't forget that once the government gets it wrong at Kaduna, because that is the only railway that is operational now, and with the mindset that is going to other part of the country, that means that you most likely may be having incidents like that, moving from the road now to the rail. And the calamity and disaster on the rail is higher than that of the road.
Indeed, God forbid.
It's high, God forbid.
Yeah.
But we have to also forbid it. God did not allow it. It is man that is allowing it, and it's man that will forbid it.
Indeed, I hear you. We're going to have to leave it here. Dr. Tony Ofoyetan.
It's my pleasure.
DG, International Institute of Professional Security. That doctor I put is because that's my wish. So thank you very much, Tony. Indeed, that's our program. We've come to the end of the program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. Do all you can to be safe, as we always say. Bye-bye for now.